Hello everybody, this is Shady here, and for today's video, we are going to be talking about my favorite series of all time, Final Fantasy. So, what we're going to talk about, well, I say talk about, what I mean is we're going to see my collection. And yeah, obviously, Final Fantasy been going on for like, what, 37 years now almost. And yeah, tons of amazing games, basically played all of them. And yeah, we're just going to sort of look through all my collection anyway. Today we're going to be talking about the games and the movies, all that related stuff. And then at a later date, I'll do a second part where we talk about the like non-gaming related things, you know, other like books and the like. But yeah, obviously, if you guys aren't aware, in Europe, our Final Fantasy journey started off differently. We started off with this game, Final Fantasy VII. So obviously, if you guys don't know, there was a weird kind of thing with the release of the first 6 games. So obviously in Japan, they just had Final Fantasies 1, 2, 3 on the NES, and 4, 5, and 6 on the Super Nintendo, or Famicom and Super Famicom. And in North America, they only had the first Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy 1, and then they skipped 2 and 3 and went straight to 4, but then obviously 4 on the Super Nintendo. And obviously when it was localized, they decided to call it Final Fantasy 2, so 2 was 4, and then they skipped 5 and released 6 and called 6 3. So yeah, very strange. So obviously a lot of people probably confused when it was 7, who was the next one after that. But obviously we only got 7 over here. And yeah, this is the like the original release of the game. Obviously you can see it's a bit battle hardened. Yeah, this one obviously, if you don't know, it comes in like, you know, you have 3 discs. You know, one of the greatest games ever made. I think, you know, for a lot of people, this is where they started off with the series. This wasn't the first game I played in the series, but yeah, it is an absolute masterpiece. One of the best ones. And yeah, obviously that was the first release of the game. They also did a Platinum Hits version. And what makes this interesting is this one comes with the 4th disc, which is a, wherever it is. Yeah, sorry, it's at the front, which is a preview disc for Final Fantasy VIII. And basically it just plays like essentially the opening cutscene of Final Fantasy VIII, which is essentially works as a trailer for the game, which is strange as hell, I know. But yeah, just another version of the game. Obviously some people prefer the originals as opposed to the Platinum look, but I really like the Platinum style. Essentially Platinum Hits, that was if a game sells 1 million copies and more, then it gets these Platinum Hits re-releases, which were typically sold at a lower price, which was awesome. Obviously nowadays it's a bit different. You will just have like a sale like 6 months later or whatever, won't you? And you will just have the same version of the game. But yeah, really cool, amazing game. Just another cool version. Next up we have, this is the preview disc to Final Fantasy VIII. And this was basically given with the PlayStation Official magazine in Europe. And yeah, it's basically the Dollet mission that you do as like, you know, when the seed sort of training mission thing. And they're basically, you know, it's that whole mission when you enter to when you leave. It's a little bit different because you see like there's like this opening text crawl before the cutscene starts, and then you kind of just go through the mission. There is a little bit different where you have a couple of summons that are different to the original game. Also the North American and Japanese release was a bit different. I think you got that with I believe that's what came with the Platinum Hits version of Final Fantasy VIII, or it came with another game. It came with another Square Enix game, maybe Brave Fencer Musashi or something like that. And it's a slightly different one because you have Rinoa instead of Solfi, and the final cutscene is a bit different, and there's like slightly different changes with the dialogue to not give too much of the story away. But it's still a really cool release. And obviously next up, Final Fantasy VIII. Really cool game. This was the first game I played in the series. Yeah, just an absolute masterpiece. This one's actually on 4 discs. I really love this version as well, by the way, because the discs have the characters on them, Skull, Rinoa, and then yeah, you got Cypher and Edea. And yeah, just an awesome game. A little bit different to 7. Obviously, it has like the junction system and everything. Obviously, everyone knows each Final Fantasy game is different at this point. I don't really need to explain that. I have another copy of it as well, and the Platinum Hits version, you know. Because yeah, I need more than one version of Final Fantasy VIII. Obviously, the reason I have multiple discs is because I played one lot so much that it wore out that I had to get another one, and then I wore those ones out so much that I had to get a 3rd copy. Yeah, because I used to just play these games so much. Next up, obviously, we got Final Fantasy 9, one of the coolest games ever made. Yeah, the final one with developed with Sakaguchi and Uematsu working together. Just an absolute masterpiece. I really feel like, yeah, this is one of those like RPGs you have to play, even if you're not a Final Fantasy fan. Like, it's just a friggin' masterpiece. And obviously there was a few more releases on the PlayStation. They actually did re-releases of the first 6 games. So we had Final Fantasy Origins. So this is basically Final Fantasy 1 and 2. This is basically based off the WonderSwan versions of the game, but like updated even more. And obviously what's really cool is both games, well, if I can even open it. Yeah, it's more difficult than it looks, but yeah, both games are on a separate disc. And yeah, you had some pretty freaking epic manuals. This is cool as well, because they came with these like art cards and stuff. That was a Final Fantasy related, Final Fantasy 1 related one. This is Final Fantasy 2 related. So cool. And yeah, this was obviously, you have Unlimited Saga on the back for 2003. Yeah, this was quite a late release. These were basically released by the time the PS2 was out, by the way. So yeah, kind of crazy. And then they had Anthology. This is another interesting one that was slightly different, North American and Europe. Yeah, it's basically Final Fantasy 4 5 on 2 discs again. Yeah, separate discs. And yeah, so we got 4 and 5 over here. In North America, it was different. So the Anthology Collection had Final Fantasy 4 and PS1 version of Chrono Trigger, which we never got over here. And then Final Fantasy 5 was a separate release, which was very strange. I don't know why they did that. Why Chrono Trigger wasn't just a separate release on its own and also released over here. Obviously, it's not the best version of Chrono Trigger, that PS1 version. But, you know, it was still, like, it's still a cool version of Chrono Trigger. And it had, like, an animated open cutscene, which was cool as hell, too. And then, obviously, finally, Final Fantasy 6, you know, an amazing game. Not the best version, but still a cool way of playing it. And what makes this one interesting is it came with the demo disc of Final Fantasy X. Yeah, very weird, isn't it? But I suppose the thinking was it was an incentive for PS2 owners to pick up this version of the game, I suppose. But yeah, just a really cool version of the game. Also, the really cool demo. So we basically get we get to play 2 separate parts of the game. The first is like basically the opening where you're playing as Auron and Tidus, and you or Tidus, whatever you want to say, and you fight like the first boss basically. And then the second part is when you're leaving Besaid up until you meet Komari, that cutscene. Really cool. And obviously next up, what came up next obviously was the amazing Final Fantasy X. One of my favorite games of all time, obviously in the PS2. Yeah, what was it? When we got it like a year after everyone else. It was like 2001 or something in North America and Japan, and we got it 2002 over here. But we had the international version in Japan, essentially. So we got the Dark Aeons and Expert Sphere Grid. So it was a slightly more complete version. So yeah, can't really complain. Obviously, you got those versions in the later HD version for North America anyway. The updates anyway. But this is still my favorite version of Final Fantasy X personally. I do like the remaster, but yeah, I don't know. We can't. I just prefer the models in this one personally. I don't know. I think that's just the kind of the consensus with it anyway. And obviously, yeah, next up they did 10-2 for the PS2. Really awesome sequel. Obviously, we play as Yuna, Pain, and Riku. It's basically Charlie's Angels in Final Fantasy X world, essentially. Really interesting to be able to go back into Sphera and kind of. What's really cool is it allows you to kind of explore the world a bit more, and it's more open. Just a really cool version of the game. I think it's awesome anyway. Okay. We've got people doing work out there, by the way, I just realised. So yeah, I do apologise if there's any like annoying background noise. Okay, just close the window. So, yeah. That's, you know, you get to see a bit of background there. You know, having to close the window. Yeah. Anyway, next up, Final Fantasy X. Just yeah, I freaking love this game. This was a pretty late release though on the PlayStation 2. So yeah, by the time this was out, I think it was 2005 in like North America, Japan, and then we got it like 2006 over here. So like the 368 was out, and the PS3 was basically going to come out as well. So yeah, I think a lot of people just didn't play this one, and this was the first like single player one that didn't have turn-based combat. It had the Gambit system. So a lot of people were like, oh, I don't really like it, blah, blah, blah. But obviously once the Zodiac Age version came out, which updated a lot of stuff, yeah, I think people have grown to really like this. And every time I've played this, it's just, I love this game even more. It's actually like in my top 5 Final Fantasy games. It's amazing. Obviously, yeah, 10 is my number 1. But yeah, this one's pretty good. Cast of characters, everything is amazing. Give it a try if you haven't. Oh yeah, next up, the PS2. Everyone's favorite. Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII. I don't know why I said it like that. But yeah, this is a prequel to, this is a sequel to Final Fantasy VII. So if you guys don't know, obviously we have the original Final Fantasy VII, and then they did, obviously the movie Advent Children, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And then, yeah, this was kind of the sequel to that, so after that. So it's a few years after Advent Children, and we're playing as Vincent, and it's actually like a third-person shooter. And it's actually an alright one as well. I think it's a lot of fun. I love Vincent as a character. He's one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters. So being able to play as him in, you know, his own game was cool as hell. And yeah, what made this thing with this game? This was the first like Final Fantasy game to kind of do something a bit different, or be within a different genre. So it's kind of like people weren't too sure on it. I'm sure we're going to get some kind of remaster on this soon anyway. So yeah, if you don't have a PS2, I'm sure it'll be available eventually. Yeah, because obviously they did before Crisis, or Crisis Core HD, didn't they? Reunion just before Rebirth. So I imagine before Part 3 this will come out. And yeah, that's basically all the PS2 ones. Next up, we're going to talk about a couple of the movies. Yeah, this one's kind of missing the cover, but this is Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. This is really interesting because, yeah, I'll show you this, the 2-disc special edition. Yeah, and obviously we got that there as well. So what is this? So this was a full-blown movie that Square Enix, I think Sony produced alongside Square Enix, directed by Hironobu Sakaguchi. A Final Fantasy full-on movie set in its own universe and everything. It's basically like Aliens, essentially, but in like with a Final Fantasy twist. It's more of a sci-fi thing as opposed to a fantasy thing. So I think, yeah, famously this movie like flopped massively, lost a lot of money, and is kind of the reason why Sakaguchi ended up leaving Square Enix, kind of in disgrace, if you will. But yeah, I think it's an interesting movie. Not the greatest, but it's alright, you know, I can't really complain. Yeah, and then obviously everyone's favourite, the fan favourite movie. This is obviously Final Fantasy VII, Advent Children. I've actually really loved this movie. I know it's just like a bunch of fan service battles. But yeah, it just looked amazing for the time. Same with Spirits Within. Yeah, it was so cool the fact that they did a sequel to 7 but made it a movie, I thought was really friggin' interesting. You know, because they could easily, you know, now they probably would have just made it a game, right? You know, but just, it was such an interesting idea, such a cool fan servicey thing to do, and a celebration of, you know, this momentous game. And yeah, like I said, the plot isn't the best, but you get to see a lot of cool fights, and that's what's awesome. And obviously, yeah, let's move on to the next generation of systems. I want to show you a couple of spin-off games first. We have Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles: The Crystal Bearer on the Wii. This was like a full-blown Final Fantasy game made specifically for the Wii. It's basically like an action adventure type of game. Yeah, this is kind of a game that people don't really like a lot. It's got a lot of bad reputation. I remember being really hyped for it at the time. I never actually got it. I actually picked this one up more recently. Still haven't actually played it, but I've seen the gameplay and it looks cool. Yeah, I will get around to it eventually. I think it looks pretty cool. Next up, this is a strange one. This is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Echoes of Time. This is really weird because this is a port of a Wii game. Or no, sorry, a port of a DS game brought to the Wii. So yeah, very interesting. And I think it still has like cross features between the two of them. If you look at the back of the screenshots, you can see you can basically, you play it as a dual screen game. But obviously what's really interesting is you used the motion controls, the pointer, as the touch controls. So it still was able to function like a regular DS game, which is kind of cool. Unfortunately, we never really got more DS games ported to the Wii because like it kind of does a good job at it. And obviously, if you don't know, this is basically like a dungeon crawler, Diablo, or that sort of a type of game, if you know what I mean, where you basically make your party member and you're just like, you know, doing missions with your party in dungeons, fighting bosses and getting more equipment, blah, blah, blah. There's a little bit of a story to it. But yeah, it's an interesting little side series. Obviously, the first one started off on the GameCube, and then you had a bunch of DS ones, and then the Wii one. And I don't think there's been one in a while. The last one was actually the HD version of the Wii one, which is interesting. Obviously, next up, we got the next generation of consoles from Sony, which is the PS3 generation. And obviously, we got. Let's get this right. We got Final Fantasy 13, a game that I'm in the minority of liking. I personally really freaking love this game. Very linear, and you know, very cutscene heavy. But I think the story is really cool. The battle system's awesome, and yeah, the visuals are just stunning. It's still a beautiful freaking game. And yeah, we play as Lightning and these obviously another 5 other party members, where they're basically. What's really cool is it kind of recontextualizes the whole Warriors are like crystals things, where it's not this like benevolent, like awesome thing, but it's like it's a curse and you're like a slave to the crystal. The crystals will basically brand you. You'll get this like image and you have to figure out what your focus is or the mission. And if you don't complete it, you basically become a fucking zombie. But then when you do complete it, you just become crystal for eternity almost. And it's like, it's really, I love that as a concept. And yeah, like I said, the battle system's awesome. I just really think this is a cool game. Yeah, give it a go. And then yeah, obviously because I'm crazy, I have the Japanese version just because it has this cool cover. It does work on a regular PS3. You know, if you just want to play with like the Japanese dub, it's really cool. Yeah, and this one's awesome because you have this really cool image inside her. Just to show you. Yeah, you see lightning on Odin there. Yeah, just so cool. And yeah, you get to see this other cool stuff as well. Some of the inserts, you get this like little merch thing. There was a lot of cool merch surrounding Final Fantasy 13. Yeah, it was one of the awesome elements of the game. Got some information in there. Got that lady on the back there. Yeah, really cool. Yeah, hopefully we don't have to wait too long for the remaster, right? And then obviously I've got a sequel, 13-2, really awesome game. We play as Sarah and Noel, different characters, just a really cool sequel. And then there's the third game, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 7. I've got the awesome steelbook, and this also came with the Cloud costume as well, which is awesome. And yeah, obviously we had, just do some stretching here. There was also the 3 games came to Xbox 360 as well, which is awesome. Yeah, really fun as fuck games in my opinion. And then obviously, yeah, we have one of the most interesting things ever, Final Fantasy 14: A Realm Reborn. Obviously, if you guys don't know about this, Final Fantasy 14 is obviously the second MMO. They had Final Fantasy 11 before on the PS2, but I don't really play that game. It's not my collection. Yeah, I started off on the PS3. So the game originally released for PC only, was meant to come to both PS3 and PC. Was really bad. They basically had to remake the whole game, and then they re-released it as A Realm Reborn. And then they did do the PS3 version. Obviously, you can't play it on PS3 anymore. Yeah, these servers shut down when they migrated to PS4. But yeah, just so cool. And yeah, this is obviously, what I love is this is like the original release of the game, which is cool. A nice little bit of history, yeah. And then yeah, obviously they did one kind of more major release on the PS2, or the last major release Final Fantasy related thing was the HD collection. This is both 10 and 10.2, obviously, as you can see, I've got £15 at CEX. And yeah, this is basically, yeah, they took 10, 10.2, update the visuals, put them together, and they added the, I think it was like the thing in between. You got this basically, if you bought Unlimited Saga on the PS2, you got this disc which kind of was like this setup, a little cutscene set up for 10.2 where you get to see Yuna, Riku, and Pain talk about something before they start the mission. I think they added that into this from what I remember. But yeah, 10 is awesome, and it was just so cool to have a HD version. Yeah, then obviously next up we will talk about the old PS4 now. First up, obviously it wasn't the first release, but we have Final Fantasy X: The Zodiac Age, or Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age. Yeah, so obviously this was re-released again. This was finally released in the HD form. So obviously, if you guys don't know, we had the regular release of 12, and then Japan about a year or so later had the Zodiac Age, which was basically almost like a whole new game with all the updates and everything. It basically added the job system, all these other extra bells and whistles. And then finally, they kind of like re-released it on PS4. It was exclusive to PS4 for about a year or so, and then came to other platforms later. Same with Final Fantasy X, it was exclusive to PS3, and then later came to other platforms. And yeah, next up, obviously, they these are some cool ones here. We have, obviously, well, this is obviously still sealed, but it's World of Final Fantasy. Really interesting little spin-off game. Has this cool little chibi art style. You basically play as these two characters. They come into this world where you essentially, you know, you have to do like a little Final Fantasy plot where you interact with different characters from the different games. You know, it almost feels like it's Kingdom Hearts, but just Final Fantasy stuff, kind of, in a way. And yeah, next up, we have the incredibly terrible Dissidia NT. This was basically an attempt at trying to turn, make a Final Fantasy fighting game, you know, for like esports or whatever, but it failed massively. And then obviously we have the amazing Final Fantasy 15. This is the Royal Edition, the updated version. Obviously Final Fantasy 15 was originally going to be the Versus 13, and then kind of got an updated. They then kind of, it was delayed for ages, and then finally, like, you know, updated to be Final Fantasy 15 instead. Really awesome game. Cool open world game. We play as Noctis and his friends, or his three sort of companions. It's basically like Boy Band the game, or something, I guess. Boy Band Road Trip, you know. But yeah, really cool game. I just freaking love the Amano style alternate cover in this version. But yeah, just a really cool game. I think this is worth playing. You know, it's not perfect, but I think like for an attempt at like an open world type game, 15 does a good job, and yeah, I really like it. Next up, this is one of the coolest releases. There's a HD version of Final Fantasy VIII, obviously, and the PS4 got like these physical versions, I think only in Europe, weirdly enough, and possibly in Japan as well. And yeah, I just love the freaking cover, man. It's so cool. I love that artwork where you get the three characters, and yeah, you got the same back as you did in the original PS1 version, which is cool, but like kind of more stretched out, so you get to see the image a bit more. Yeah, still sealed, because obviously I have the digital version. It's just a cool little collector's item for me. But yeah, next up, yeah, as you can see, the PS4 got a lot of love for Final Fantasy. But yeah, next up we have Final Fantasy Type 0. So yeah, this is another Final Fantasy 13 related game. This was originally meant to be Final Fantasy Type 0. Oh no, Final Fantasy Agito 13 for the PSP. Got delayed, became Type 0 instead, like a little spin-off game. Only released in Japan, still on the PSP, and then we finally got a HD version. Yeah, because obviously, like, I'm assuming because of delays to 15, they decided to have this to fill the void. Obviously, another cool thing was this came with the playable demo for Final Fantasy 15. Yeah, there was, you can see the code there. You can't use it now, obviously, because I redeemed it years ago. But yeah, that was kind of like the thing. A lot of people basically bought this game just to play the demo, or bought the game and then were just selling the demo as well, which is kind of interesting. And what's really cool about the demo is 15's demo, that is they updated it as well and added like an extra boss and stuff. It's, like, I've never heard of that before. It's really cool. And yeah, 15 actually got like 2 demos as well, like a second one, which wasn't quite as good, but still a cool one. Yeah, next up, Final Fantasy X 10 HD collection again. This one's awesome because this is a steelbook. One of the coolest ones. You've got Yuna from 10 and Yuna from 10-2. I just love this friggin' image. This is the image you see as my profile for my YouTube channel, obviously. Yeah, just, oh my god, I love this game so much. And what's great about this release is, one thing I forgot to mention is the regular HD version had a alternate soundtrack that you couldn't change, and this one bought the option to change between the original and the arranged soundtrack. So yeah, I prefer the original. The arranged is still fine, but yeah, really cool version of the game. I don't know how much this will cost you now, but as soon as it was announced, I picked it up. I think it was like 25 or 30 when it first came out, so a bit cheaper than your standard game. Or maybe it was 40 actually, because it was the steelbook one. But yeah, really cool. Next up, obviously, yeah, Final Fantasy 14 got ported to PS4, like I said already. This was the complete edition, which included Realm Reborn and Heaven's Sword, or Heaven's Word. which is the the first major expansion, and then obviously Stormblood, the expansion as well, which you bought separately, and then there was another version, the Complete Edition, which included Heaven's Sword and Stormblood as well as Realm Reborn. Yeah, the reason why I bought all these different versions of this game is because like basically I think I lost. Basically, it's tied to your PSN account, so I think I had one version and then lost that character or something like that, and then I bought another copy to start on a new account, which is interesting. And obviously, you can also now get Final Fantasy 14 on the PS5 as well, but I don't have the PS5 version, physical version, because I think it was just like a free upgrade you got or something, which is cool. But yeah, that's all the PS4 stuff. Did a lot of PS4 love, obviously. But yeah, let's move some of this stuff out of the way now. You've got a few more games to go through. Obviously, there is one more PS4 game, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. Next up, we'll talk about DS stuff. Yeah, so obviously, yeah, we got some really cool ones here. We got Crystal Chronicles Ring of Fate. That's obviously another one of the Crystal Chronicle games. Basically the same thing, but yeah, just on the DS. This was the one before the one I showed you a moment ago. Yeah, Final Fantasy 3. Obviously, this game was trapped in Japan for years until this remake for the DS, and then this version has obviously been ported to other platforms. But now, obviously, we've got the original version with the pixel remasters as well. So, but really cool game. First one to introduce the job system and everything. So, a really cool game. Next up, yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2. Just a fun little game, tactical RPG. Obviously, which brings me on to the first Final Fantasy Tactics, which was on the GBA. Yeah, really fun game. Hope we get a new Tactics game at some point. I don't have the first Tactics on the PS1 because that was like Japanese and North American exclusive. We never got it here. I mean, maybe I'll buy a copy of it, but I mean, I won't be able to play it, unfortunately. Yeah, Final Fantasy 12 Revenant Wings. This is a full-on sequel to Final Fantasy 10. And what's really cool about this is it's basically like an RTS. So yeah, if you want to play an RTS in the Final Fantasy universe, it's really cool. And obviously, yeah, that's set a couple of years after 12. You want to play 12 first because obviously you won't know anything about the characters otherwise. And then yeah, this brings you on to 3DS, which is obviously yeah, only really got this game, which was Theatre Rhythm Final Fantasy. Yeah, fun little kind of rhythm game. You basically get to play through all the musical tracks while there's a little battle going on. You select your party, they'll fight a monster or something, and then you basically have to tap or whatever with the touchscreen. And yeah, it's good fun. Before we talk about another game, let's talk about this. This is really interesting. This is, sorry, there's a bit of dust on it, so I'm trying to wipe off it. This is Final Fantasy Ultimate. People probably don't remember this, but yeah, this was basically a anime in the Final Fantasy universe, or in a Final Fantasy universe. The best way to describe it, it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland. You have this lady and these two kids get teleported to this like fantasy world, Final Fantasy world, obviously, and then they meet this dude who kind of helps them defeat like the bad guy or whatever. And what's really the dude who helps them, he's super cool, and he has this gun, and then he can put these bullets in the gun which shoot spells. When he puts the certain ones in, he can like shoot summons. So like he'll do this whole like dramatic thing like the flame of blah blah blah, da, 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 da. Put the 3 bullets in and be like Ifrit, and then he fires them and he becomes this cool thing. It's really cool. It's not, I think it's just 18 episodes on 3 discs. Obviously this is like, I want to say this is probably like some Chinese knockoff or something. I got it quite cheap. You can probably buy a proper collection and everything, but really cool little anime. Yeah, and it's one of the things that I think not many people are aware of, but definitely check it out. It's really cool. And obviously, yeah, may as well talk about, the next lot. There's a few things I want to talk about here. The PSP. Yeah, we got Spirits Within on UMD. Obviously, the PSP could, have these universal media discs, and yeah, allowed you to watch movies. So yeah, they look good on the PSP screen, but obviously, if you use the cables to watch on an actual TV, it doesn't look that great, but it's still cool. Advent Children, obviously I have to own this version, one version's not enough. And then obviously, yeah, we've got Dissidia and Dissidia Duodecim, the 2 Final Fantasy fighting games. These are actually awesome, unlike NT. Yeah, basically you You have all the heroes and all the villains of the first few of like a bunch of Final Fantasy games facing off against each other. You'll play as in the story mode. You'll choose one of the heroes and fight off against certain villains and stuff. And yeah, just a really cool game. It's an arena fighter basically, you know, like every bloody anime game. Yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics, the PSP version. Obviously, yeah, this is like the first version we got of this game. We didn't get the PS1 version, but this is like the War of the Lions kind of updated edition. And yeah, you have Balthier in it as well. Obviously, in the original version, you had Cloud. They also added Balthier. Really cool. Next up, Final Fantasy IV, the Complete Collection. This is awesome because you basically get Final Fantasy IV, you get its sequel, the After Years, where you play as his son, and you get the interlude, which is exclusive to this version. This is actually like the best, most complete version of this game as well. Yeah, you get these like art cards, you get this like little thing to wipe your a cloth to wipe your screen with or whatever you want to. These are cool art cards. I think I might have shown these before in my PSP collection video or something. You get most of like the characters available there, so just really freaking cool, man. Yeah, I've done a whole playthrough of 4 on my channel. I forgot these two as well, but yeah, if you even saw them. And I dropped them on the floor because I'm an idiot. This is fun, isn't it? Watching me do this. Alright. Okay. It's all part of the fun, isn't it? But anyway, so yeah. Cool as hell video. Cool as hell video? Sorry. Cool as hell game. Great collection. Yeah, hunt that one down if you want the best version of Final Fantasy IV, basically. But if not, you still got the Pixel Remaster, most accessible one. So. Next up, Final Fantasy 1. Yeah, for the 20th anniversary, they did re-releases of both Final Fantasy 1 and 2. But these versions released them separately. These are actually like the most kind of complete versions of the game. I only got the physical version of 1, and I think I got like a digital version of 2. Well, I did get a digital version, I don't think. But yeah, really cool version of the game. But obviously you do have the Pixel Remasters. The key difference is, obviously in this one you have MP as opposed to like spell charges and stuff. But yeah, really cool. Obviously this is one that I got recently. Final Fantasy 3, the PSP version, awesome looking artwork. This is a Japanese only release, but which was late in the PSP's lifetime. But it does have like, you have the option for English dialogue and everything, so, and you can play it on a PSP, so yeah, really cool. Yeah, I just love that. Because basically there was an, this has like a cool CG opening, and these are the renders of the characters in those openings. Obviously the actual visuals are like 2D chibi style sort of game, or 3D chibi style type of game. Yeah, and then we have Crisis Core on the PSP. I'm gonna have to say I prefer this version to the remaster. I don't like the dub in the remaster. The direction was terrible. It's very weird because like all the voice actors who are in Rebirth are amazing. Like the guy who does Sephiroth and Zack's voices are both really good. Like Zack in Rebirth is actually freaking amazing, but in the remaster of this, he just doesn't sound great or enthusiastic or anything. It's like they didn't tell him what to do, we'll say. I don't know, just me. But yeah, still really cool, awesome game. Next up, obviously, you know, a third version of Advent Children. This is Advent Children Complete. So obviously, I think, what was it, about 10 or so years after the release of Advent Children, they did the HD update of it. And this one is cool because it adds an extra half an hour or so footage, or 20 minutes I think it is. So it's like more of a director's cut. So yeah, if you want a slightly enhanced version, go for this. Obviously, yeah, we have that version of Cloud. Another really cool thing, curiosity type thing if you're interested, is when this released, they did a special edition of the PS3 to coincide with this, that came with this game, and it had like the Fenrir symbol on Cloud's bike on the front of it. It's a really cool version. It's the PS3 Fat as well, so it's like the backwards compatible version, so that's a cool version. They also did a 2 Final Fantasy 13 PS3s as well, for 13 and 13-2, both of which have lightning, and both the PS3 Slim models as well. So but yeah, really cool movie. And yeah, obviously I don't have enough versions of it, so obviously, yeah, I have the Japanese version of Advent Children Complete as well. And this is actually a recent pickup, and the reason why I picked this one up is because not only does it come with Advent Children Complete, but it also comes with the 13 preview disc as well. Yeah, that just, it's the trial version, sorry, but yeah, the printing on that looks really bad. It almost looks like it's a counterfeit version, but I'm pretty sure it isn't. Yeah, obviously this is all Japanese. But yeah, if you're, for those interested, let's just turn this around properly. You can obviously play it on any version of the PS3 because it was region free. But yeah, just cool as hell. Yeah, obviously, if you're crazy like me, you'll want to pick that up. And obviously, there was another Final Fantasy movie, which was Kingsglaive, which is a prequel to Final Fantasy 15. And yeah, there's the back there. This is the Steelbook version. Yeah, what's really cool is I picked this up basically day one. This has 2 discs as well, because this doesn't just have that. This has Brotherhood. So Brotherhood Final Fantasy 15 is also kind of a sequel to 15 as well. It's an animated series, 2D animation. I think it's a 4 or 5 part thing. They released them all on YouTube and they're still available to watch on YouTube. But as a part of like this Steelbook version on Blu-ray, they just added it separately. But yeah, really cool. I just love the Steelbook, man. It's so cool. Fun little movie. It's basically, this is basically the opening cutscene of 15 right here as like a 2-hour or whatever CG movie. So yeah, I know that kind of annoyed a lot of people and it's not like the greatest movie, but it's a lot of fun, and then obviously we've got the final few games. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, so yeah, another copy of Final Fantasy X and another copy of Final Fantasy 12 for the Switch. The annoying thing about this is, yeah, you have to have a separate download for 10.2. So this only actually comes with 10 on the cart. And obviously this game's fine. You have everything on that cart. And then, yeah, there's the next couple of games left. We have, obviously, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the Deluxe Edition. Really cool version. You have all these really cool extra bells and whistles. Let's actually open it and show you one of the, the stuff you get in these Deluxe Editions. Obviously, you just get a copy of the game. That's the cool cover. That kind of looks like that classic scene there. You get a soundtrack selection, which is 12 tracks, as you can see there. An amazing steelbook, that's the wrong way around, with Sephiroth and Final Fantasy VII Remake on the back of it. And then you have that same image in the middle. And then an art book selection, Deluxe Edition art book. Yeah, so yeah, obviously I like that this is so compact and everything. Really cool little thing. Yeah, as soon as they announced this Deluxe Edition, I pre-ordered it. I got it from the Square Enix store. And what's really awesome is I actually got this game a week early. There was some weird thing where they, for some reason, they re-released the games early, or they re-released 7 early, only through the Square Enix store. So a lot of us got to complete the game. So I actually completed the game before anyone else got to play it, which is so cool. Then obviously there was, next up, we've got the Deluxe Edition of Final Fantasy 16. This one's slightly different because, it comes with this extra thing here. So obviously, you get the cool friggin' steelbook. You get to see Clive kind of half Ifrit. You get the game. Really cool looking cover. And yeah, it actually comes with like this cloth map type of thing of the map of the world. Just a really cool friggin' thing. I think the 7 Deluxe Edition is better, personally, but this is cool. Also, both of these games, including the next one that I'm going to talk about, have had like premium editions or like really good collector's editions. It was basically, these ones are like £100 each or something. I think this was 90 or something like that, and this was 100, slightly more or something. And then there was like a £300 version of both, I think it was, where you get a really cool statue. So with 7 Remake, you got Cloud on the bike. The famous scene from when they escaped the Shinra building. And with 16, you got a statue of Ifrit. And I think there was an issue with, I think it might have only been the early ones they released where the statues were defective or something. But that was only the ones they sent to like influencers and stuff. I think the ones that people actually bought were fine. And obviously last up, the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Deluxe Edition. This is even thicker. It's thicker than both of the other two combined. And this one is really awesome. And obviously, this one, the Ultra Deluxe Edition of this, you got a cool statue of Sephiroth with the 1 wing. This is obviously, this game only came out this year. But in my opinion, I just really love it. I think it's going to be the game of the year, isn't it? You got a mini soundtrack selection. 12 tracks again, but in an actual proper dual case CD thing. You got an even bigger art book, The Art of Rebirth. This really awesome steelbook, as you can see, where you have both Zack and Cloud together. And yeah, you have the Buster Sword. And then yeah, there's like this kind of symbols in the middle there, where I'm assuming that's the universe or something. I'm not 100% sure on that one. And obviously, yeah, the game itself, which has the really cool cover where you have Cloud, Zack, and Sephiroth in the middle there. Actually, that cover's so cool. Like, that might be one of my favorite covers of any game, I think. But yeah, just really cool collection. And obviously, when part 3 comes out, I'm definitely buying the deluxe edition as well. Like I said, as soon as they announced it, I picked it up basically. So, yeah, and like I said, you know, when it's, well, I didn't say it, but yeah, if it's Final Fantasy related, I'm always going to get like the best version if I can. You know, it's the one thing with this series. You know, I'm always going to go that step further and get the best version. But yeah, that's basically almost everything there. Well, it's everything for this part. And obviously, when I get around to doing the next one and the second part, I'm going to go over like the books and like the actual some more collector's editions and like that I have for some of these games, and a few other little bits like that. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, as always, and hopefully I will catch you in the next one where we'll talk about something else game related. Anyway, you know, if you like the video, like, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz, and I'll catch you in the next one.